these type of spaces are not common. And so to be able to be invited into a space like this is always such an honor. So
we love you.
Love y'all so much. And so tonight I was gonna speak on community, the power of community, the essence of community, how to tap into community in more deeper, powerful ways in order to manifest bigger. And I heard the interweavings of that conversation so much throughout this entire night, to have the feedback, to be able to converse amongst one another about what community is, about the different areas and vulnerabilities that we may still be experiencing when it comes to finding community, connecting with community. And then from that, after we have this discussion and this conversation, I'll weave all of that together and I'll kind of tie a bow on it. I'm not exactly sure where it's going to go, but I know it's going to go exactly where it's supposed to go.
Yes.
And so the first question that I want to open up is to just get a feel for everyone in the room on a scale of 1 to 10, when you think about community, when you think about your ideal version of what it means to be in community, to have community, on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you feel that you are at in the process? 10 being, fuck yes, like Sam always says, I am living fully embodied in what it means to be community. I feel safe in community. I feel open to receive in community. I feel open to give in community. I'm just like rocking it. And 1 being like, you probably wouldn't be here if it's a 1. 1 is like, I'm not even going outside. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I want you to just start to really think about, where do you fall in that space when it comes to community? And I want you to take a breath, and I want you to breathe, and I want you to connect with yourself, with the truth of that answer. There is no right answer, because we're all on our journeys, we're all on our paths. And once you feel that you have that answer, I want you guys to just go ahead and shout that number out to me. 9, 6, 5, 7.5, 4, 7. Okay, this is good. This is a good space to be. So I have another question. For those that are above an 8 to a 10, what does it feel like to be in that space? I know there was a couple. What does it mean? What does it feel like for you to be in that space of community?
I don't know what word to use on it yet, but I'll just tell a really quick story of one of my favorite communities, which there are many people here from there, Curiosity Berries. Right before our last event, I had something like super traumatic happen. And I was like, oh my God, I have this big event. And I actually was like really so happy to go to the event, knowing that I would just be able to show up in whatever state that looked like, and just be held in total love. And I could show up and be moody, I could show up and be happy, I could show up and sit alone, I could show up and sit with a bunch of people, and like no matter what, I knew that I was just like fine the way that I was, and I was going to be loved the way that I was.
That's beautiful. And now what about between, let's say, the 5 and 8? If you're about the 5 to 8, what does it feel like to be in community freedom? Anyone wanted to share?
Refreshing, like restarting, like rebooting.
Anyone else?
I feel like that resonated. I feel like community really reflects back to me the best pieces of myself, and then it like regenerates those pieces so they become true as they like see it. You know what I mean?
I love that so much. So as we can already see just from some of the things that were already shared, the power of community, the safety, the freedom, the being held, the expansiveness, all of the different aspects that community brings. All of the definitions were just filled with so much life and abundance and love. But also on the other end of that, because everything has the duality, is also the fears, is also the traumas, is also the things that make stepping out into community, going from a 1 to a 9 to a 10, terrifying. And so I also want to take a little stab at the other side of things. And so if anyone feels comfortable in this space to share, what are some areas of community that get brought up for you that make it a little bit nerve-wracking to expand deeper and more full into that community space? Well, some advice that I had got on my journey as I was rebuilding community, because I have a very similar experience, was learning to retrust yourself. Trust yourself to make the right decisions. Trust yourself to choose who to let into your life. Trust yourself of who to create boundaries for. So less about giving your trust away and more about owning, I trust myself to choose.
Exactly.
I trust myself to be able to get back up if I get it wrong. I trust myself to be able to walk away as soon as I know it's time for me to walk away. And so taking back that power and saying, you know what, I trust me to rebuild in community. That was some of the best advice that I got. Yeah, you're so welcome. Anyone else? Yes.
Yeah, I want to share something. So for me, on a different dimension of this conversation, so I really do like organizing events to bring community together, especially through creativity. Like I am that person for many people, but I still get in my head about like having to hold that responsibility. And so I feel like I don't go full force because I'm like, I don't want to be that responsible. or like, I don't know, it's just like, I guess the pressure, I get a little bit in my head about that. And also, my ego gets in the way where it's like, I could ask for help or like I can collaborate with people. But then there's like this part of me that gets a little territorial. It's like, I want this to come from me. And then there have been times where like, maybe I'll ask like, hey, do you want to collaborate on this? Or, hey, do you want to co-host? And it has kind of happened. But like, if someone is like, oh no, then I'll just won't ask anyone. I'm like, okay, I'll just do it all on my own then. So I kind of hold the weight of like me organizing whatever thing I'm doing. Yeah, so anyway, all of those pressures are kind of lingering. And that's why I said 7.5 for myself, because I'm like, I feel like I need to, like that's something I need, like that's my area of growth. And like holding space in community.
So valid, thank you for sharing that vulnerability. Anyone else?
I feel like sometimes I get community overdose because I'm a community organizer, and like sometimes I actually like it'll be at my own event and I'm like, put me in my own fucking sweater, like and it's like not that I don't love everyone, but it's just that like I'm just so burnt that I'm just like I can't even show up and hold space and presence in a conversation without my mind being like shoo. So it's like just kind of getting some fatigue from that and also like thriving so much with it and loving it so much and having to like, I don't know, set boundaries and stuff with it. Like I feel like I don't go out like as much as maybe other people think I do, because I am such a like, oh, you think I'm like here and here and I look like I'm everywhere and I kind of am, but like I'm mostly just in my bedroom.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's something that's so important. A lot of times when we talk about boundaries, we talk about boundaries in some more of the more dense part of the conversations, like boundaries like, I'm not going to let nobody disrespect me. Yeah. Boundaries of like, I'm not going to let people take. But also boundaries in our community, how often we engage in community. Boundaries in our compassion. Boundaries in our forgiveness. Boundaries with our grace. And so learning that even when we have these really juicy things that we love and we adore, like community, being like, well, I still have to have boundaries here too, because boundaries are important across the board. So I think that's such a valid point of like being able to be in community while also still having boundaries with community and this thing that we like search for, long for, but then also realizing that it always tips to the other side eventually, where you also have to create that balance and that space there as well. Thank you for sharing that. So with that, what I want to do, we've explored both the shadow of community and also the light of community and what that looks like. And I want to take a second to integrate that energy. I want to take a second to be present with that through breath. And so totally up to you what you feel comfortable with. But if you want to find like a comfortable space where you can kind of get your feet planted on the ground, if you're sitting in a way where that can work. And just really start to settle into your body, start to settle into your skin. Maybe give yourself just a massage and tap in, knowing that you are your first community. You are your first place of safety. You are your first space of safety and of trust. You are your first space of wholeness. You are your first space of joy. You're your first space of sorrow. You're your first space of anger and pain. You are your community first and foremost. And so taking a second to just honor that. Honoring the fact that you are already with community and in a space in community because you are home within your own body. And whenever you feel ready, comfortable, I want you to just start to take a deep breath from your belly, lower part of your belly, breathing in through your nose, in through your nose, all the way up to that heart space, opening up that heart, and then releasing, shaking that energy out. And we're going to do that again. You're going to start from your root, breathing in through your nose, all the way up to your heart space, opening it, being in a space of receptivity and receiving that you are safe, and release. And we're going to do that 2 more times, breathing in from the bottom of your root. Bring it up all the way up to your heart space, all the way. And then take another deep breath into your heart. And release. And we're going to do that 1 more time. Let this be the biggest breath that you've taken all day. Breathing in from that root, breathing in to that heart space. And I want you to hold it. And I want you to hold that intention of what it is that you want to see with community. Hold that intention. Call it in. And as soon as you're ready, I want you to release with an audible sound. And shake it out. And then what I want you to do when you open your eyes, I want you to lock eyes with one person in the room. One person. Find your person. Did we find our people? Did we find our people? Found our person? Y'all got a person? Find our person? Okay, we're locked in.